'tis many's a gay night, from dark till daylight, I spend with people of high renown. But in all their grandeur and heaps to squander, my heart would wander for sweet Omagh town.
Hello, Declan, do you hear me?
Donald, how are you?
Very well, Declan.
Well, come here. I was thinking tonight, Mark McGrath has built up the most tremendous resource of photographs of Omagh, old photographs come back many generations. And let's have a chat tonight with him about the photographs, Okyun Park, Culmore Park, and just life in Omagh.
All right. Let's see if the magic of a three-way conversation works on an iPhone, a mobile phone, and a landline. Fingers crossed, here we go.
I mean, how long have you been doing that?
Well, I took my first photograph when I was 11 years of age. My father that worked in the corn brought a few photographs home to show us what the town looked in the 1800s. And the fascination that I had looking at them photographs, I was transfixed on what the photographs looked like. And just from that age, I just kept looking at photographs and photographs. Then when I turned 16, I decided Ms. McGarton had a club book. She lived in Culmore Park. And I was able to talk her into buying a camera. And the camera was £49.99p. And that there was a 35mm camera. So I started then taking photographs at the age of 16. I would have went everywhere and anywhere just to take a photograph. It was just the fascination with photographs. And then I started to think, I liked old photographs. So I started to gather postcards and gather old photographs of the town and just events that, people would say to me, I have old photographs here. I have no interest in them. You take them with you. So this went on for about 30-odd years. And these photographs had built up, and eventually then they just decided then when Facebook started up, I said, I'll put a few of these on to see what way it went. And from there on, it went snowball. And, just as it did snowball, more people came forward and says, I have photographs here, I have photographs there. And I said, well, if you don't mind, I'll use them, but see how we get from there. So it turned out at the finish up that there was about 8,000 photographs on Facebook site belonged to me.
Wow.
But isn't it amazing how the photographs are just snapshots? They're more than that. They're more than that. They actually give an insight into what life was like.
Yes.
Years ago.
Uh-huh.
Tell me, did you develop your own photographs?
I would have developed a couple of black and white stuff. I had a wee darkroom up in the attic, and I would have developed a few of them, but I wasn't that keen on it because I just like to see in them days there, once you took 36 or 24 photographs, you sent them away and you had to wait a fortnight till they come back. And then you never knew what you had taken till they come back.
And the price, of course, Mark, as well, is prohibitive.
The price was the thing then. But it just built up, and it just at that time, you wouldn't have went to the pub, or you wouldn't have sort of,
of course,
smoked there. You had no real interest. All you had interest in was pastime, and that was my pastime as a young fella.
Right. How many friends have you on Facebook, and what part of the world are they from?
I have about 3,900 friends.
Wow.
And that's gone all over the world. Funny, there was one time Facebook logged in to say about 2 photographs. One was RDG and one was the Royal Arm, to see how many people had viewed these 2 photographs. And it turned out that 138,000 plus had viewed these 2 photographs.
138,000? My goodness.
138,000 people.
I know. Jack and I are only sort of doing this now less than a week, and the numbers are just spiralling every night, Declan, isn't it?
Uh-huh.
That's right. That's absolutely right.
So, I'm not lonely.
I think, Mark, people want to be reconnected with just faces from the past, voices from the past, and just memories.
Yeah.
And your photographs must do that. The ordinary photographs of just family events, but they tell so much and say so much, don't they?
They do. But the thing about this, Declan, it's the happiness that it brought to people. That they can say, right, I've never seen that photograph. I can relate to that photograph. And that's my parents that have passed on, and my grandparents, and I've never seen that photograph, and that's amazing. that is turned up out of the blue. You know,
There's nothing like a photograph to bring you right back to a time and a place, is there?
exactly. And the thing about it is, or sometimes when I look at the albums, you start going through them, and there's a wild lot of people dead, and you forget what they look like until you see that image.
Same as ourselves, we started. Sorry, Dan. We started this about 30 years ago, Mark, and the amount of people, unfortunately, have left us since. It's and it's painful putting all that out. But it is what it is. Let's talk about Okyun Park. Can you hear me? Sorry.
Look about what I have done in the last number of years. People can relate to them. They're not that people don't know who's in the photograph, or they can't relate what part of the town is. People can relate to it.
Yes.
Which is very important. And they can come on and they can say, right, I don't have to talk to that person. I can type a wee comment to say what this photograph means to me, who's in it.
That's right.
And that's the way it works.
And the photograph comes alive again, and that's it. And that sparks a memory for somebody else.
Sparks
and that conversation,
That conversation goes on, and one then starts to talk about it, the other one comes in and talks about it, and before you know it, you have a full family chatting about a photograph.
Fantastic, isn't it? Yeah. Unreal.
Oh, yes. Brilliant.
Because there was a photograph there appeared of Joan Warburton and Aggie McNabb, and the connection between the families, they were slagging each other and saying, do you remember this, do you remember that? Do you remember up in Churchill after Mass we used to go down to Granny's and we would have got this and we would have got that? And that was just unbelievable that people know. If you said to people now that there was houses where Sally's were, they say, you're nuts, there was no houses there. But there was houses there.
Funny, we just put up an interview yesterday or today of Linus Nugent, and that's exactly where he lived, around that end of the town. And they all lived there, in Victorian houses, yeah. So, and they're all gone. There's nothing there left.
They're all gone. And that would have been a community at that time as well. Churchill, both sides of Churchill would have been families,
yes. What year did Okyun Park?
Okyun Park opened in 1965. It was the first urban district council. Before Okyun Park, it would have been the Trust housing.
Yeah,
that would have been the Dungannon crowd.
Yes.
Now, Okyun Park opened in 1966, officially opened in 1966, and there were 79 houses, right. And the cost of building 79 houses in 1965 was £163,000.
M.K. Kelly was the contractor, I remember, at the time.
M.K. Kelly was the contractor.
That's right.
So it is. But you would have seen the 60s, the boom of the housing. Before that, a lot of people were living in slums. You would have had Castle Lane, Fountain Lane, places like that there, Brook Street, places like that there that had no inside toilets, no running water. There would have been a tap outside the front door, which people would have used. Then all of a sudden, this boom of the 60s, seen the whole housing estates, you would have had the likes of Gortmore, Hunters Crescent, Cannondale, Gordrush Park, places like that. And even out to Hospital Road, McClemens, the Villas and places like that.
Park, yes.
Maclay Park. But prior to that, you would have had the prefabs, the tin huts as we would have known them as. They were built just after the war. But then you seen this boom of the 60s, all the housing being built.
But Mark, isn't it still strange to see the prefabs still up and people still living in them?
Still living in them. People
and
have
they
actually...
were there as a short-term measure.
Yes.
But they are somebody's home. And they're, that's it, families were reared in them.
Yeah. At first there were tin huts, now they've become palaces because people have brick round them, put in PVC windows, put in central heating. So
That's it.
And what was the idea to record this? I'm glad that you did. I'm glad that we got the voices as well. Mark, what was the motivation behind that?
Motivation was behind that 40 years of Okyun Park. We felt as a community to celebrate 40 years of Okyun Park, put something together, put a week event that the people of Okyun Park could celebrate, and invite other people that would have came to the discos, the dances, sports days, just come along and enjoy a week's event. And basically that was it. Because when you get to that stage, people are going to start dying off. And if you don't get that wee bit of history of where they came from, it's gone.
Yes. And those people take the stories with them as well, don't they?
They'll take them with them.
Absolutely. And then, Mark, you're using words like discos. How many out there would know what a disco was? It's like the roller rink or whatever. It was part of us growing up.
Yes.
And now, if you say to a teenager about a disco, they'd look at you and, what are you talking about?
What are you talking?
Yes.
But it's amazing that those kind of words bring back those memories, and what it was like to grow up
Yes.
in a town like Omagh,
Town home. But the thing about it is, Okyun Park and Comore Park and Shannon decided to form a committee in the early 70s to build a community centre. And through jumble sales, through gas keys and stuff like that, they got a community centre up and running. The first out of the parish, it was the first community centre, and it was built in Okyun Park in the early 70s. And it was a great place of entertainment where people would have came to this, they would have done junior show times, they would have done gas teas, they would have done things just to entertain people.
Yes.
Because in the early 70s, there was nothing really, in the late 70s, there was nothing there entertainment, less a pub, but you were far too young to go into a pub.
Yes, of course, yeah.
Right. And also, without going into any political thing, it was during the Troubles, it was a place of safety for young people too.
It was a place of safety because I remember in the early 70s, we were under curfew in Okyun Park. In the very early 70s, where the army had done a checkpoint at the top of the road and nobody was allowed to get in and out. So it was, and then the pig then that would have went through a green where we would play football and just dug up the green. And things like that there sort of stick out in your mind as a child. But even in Okyun Park, we would have had a burn at the bottom of the park, a burn, and you would have went and catch tadpoles. But if you chat to the young people today and says there were dragonflies there, lizards, and things like that, they wouldn't know what you were talking about.
That's right.
Sorry to cut across you, Mark. Was the ground the site of the old railway, or a part of the old railway?
The site of the old railway. The Bundoran line closed in 1957, and that just cleared a pathway for Okyun Park. And it was,
Yes.
like MJ Okyun and people like that there got that. Eugene Skeldon was a brainchild at that time because the council wanted the Okyun Park to be extended down where as is today, but he didn't think it was feasible because he wanted to build a shopping centre in that part of the land, and that was in 1965. So it just shows you Eugene Skeldon was well ahead of his time at that.
Certainly was, yeah. Forward thinking man.
Goodness, he was.
He was ahead of his time. And that's why that pocket. At that time in 1965, Okyun Park was out in the country. It's far from being out in the country now.
I know. That's I tell you what, it's one of the most convenient places in town to live. Tell me,
It is.
was Okyun Park one of the few estates to have 4-bedroom houses?
Cannondale would have had one since 55.
Right.
55 would have seen Cannondale being built, and it would have had the very front row with 4 bedrooms. And I think that was when they thought, well, but then it was the trust housing that would have built that.
Yeah,
so I'm thinking our urban council would have took the idea that these 4-bedroom houses should be introduced.
Yes. Social housing, it was a wonderful idea, and it's and I think we'll be back there sometime because I think it works very well for a lot of people. And the guests that you spoke to and the people that you picked, sadly, I'm sure some of them have passed away since we've done this as well.
A right few of them have passed away, so they have passed away.
And as I was telling...
But as you remember, Don, yourself, chatting to them people, there was a great sense of ownership of the park where where they lived and what they came into. Because they were coming into brand new houses, electric light, and so were inside toilets.
That's right. It made the news as well that time. Wasn't Paul Clark down with us that time?
Paul Clark came down to do a wee piece on it, which was unreal. So it was, So it was, but it was a great event, It
was a
great event.
And the wee book sold out, Mac. I'm sure it's gone.
It sold out, gone. The book just sold out within a matter of weeks. Even people that didn't even live in the park, just want to read the stories and listen to the DVD, the CD of what life was like in Okyun Park growing up.
Yeah. And the stories of getting, and to get the whole system of getting a house and how you get the points allocated and what you had to do.
That whole begging system done in the 60s that I have no knowledge of, but I've read about it, that you had to go to a counsellor and say, right,
Yes.
there's a house coming, a new estate in Okyun Park coming up. What is the chances? It was like you had to go and beg for a house.
Yes.
There's no like the housing executive today. It's point system. You had to go to these individual councillors and say, right, and you put a word in. And then people would have went, when they were announcing of the houses, they would have went down where the town hall is, and they would have come out and they would have read out who had got the house and who hadn't. And I think it was a wee bit degrading because people's hopes were built up that they were going to get a house, and then all of a sudden, no house.
The hopes were dashed, yes, I know.
The hopes were dashed at that stage.
Yeah.
But 79 houses, and
Yes.
at today are starting to dwindle away the first residents. I think it's about 11 original residents, and
Is that right?
it's making way for new people to come through.
Of course.
People
yes.
that
Yes.
that their mother and father were reared there, and now their children have been reared there. And so
Yes.
it's still a very, very tight community.
It's a small world because Declan and I were down recording some interviews for a programme called Memories of Yesteryear down at Knockmoyle. And
Yes.
one of the guys we were talking about his life as a trainee joiner was Seamus McCallion. And he remembers very well working with MK Kelly as a young joiner in those houses doing the sort of what we call the second fixing, with putting the door frames and studding and ceiling and stuff up like that. And it's strange how all this history comes right round in a circle. But you're right.
Yes,
I think so many people will relate to this because every housing estate of that time was built pretty much the same, and people were so glad to get in and build a new life and all for themselves. So they will relate to these families, and I think it'll go far and wide, Mark, and I'm sure it'll.
Yes, that's right. Don, your family came from Gortrush Park.
You were born.
I
was born Gortrush Park. Yeah.
Before that, you were Arville, wasn't it?
My father had a small piece of land out here at Arville, and then when he got married, likewise they lived in a rented rooms in Castle Street, and then eventually got a house then in those late 40s, maybe in Gortrush, 22 Gortrush, and then in early 60s my grandparents had passed away, and then we moved out here to Arville, and we're here since. Back to where we came from. But many happy memories of living in Gortrush Park. Loved it.
Gortrush Park. There wouldn't be too many originals in Gortrush at this stage.
Well, funny strange. Dino McGrath and I were but 2 doors apart, and Ernie and those guys we all lived together, and there was Turney's next door to us, and and those people all stayed with you, and I can remember them all.
But man, you're chatting about the McGardens. There was a great lot of musicians came out of that area as well, and fopplers.
This is it, okay, yeah, I know, and doctors and stuff as well. Because my brother or nephew was in Dublin at UCD, and he was talking to a guy, and he says, "You're McGurkin," he says, "I was reared up in Okyun Park. I'm not sure was he McBride, this guy, or I can't remember his name now offhand, but he was brought up in Okyun Park, but he knew the name McGurkin was an Omagh name as well. But it just shows you, that." It's wonderful that people can get together and do well and enjoy life in a housing estate like that. I loved it, So.
But even you're chatting about Okyun Park. Okyun Park even had sad events as well. We all chat about the great happy events we had, fun days and sports days and stuff like that, knockouts and stuff like that. We did lose a lot of young people. Not a lot. 7 young people we lost. No, they died very, very young, tragically,
some tragically,
and some just taken away.
Yes,
just that. And the state to lost 7 children, between Okyun and Comore over 40 years. I think it's very, very sad.
Are you still with us, Declan? Declan, you still there? Sorry.
Yep.
Oh, sorry.
I am just listening to Mark now, and he is kind of opening the door and revealing, what life was like, and the sadness and the tragedies of life, and just life goes on, but life, the so many things have happened over the years that will impact on the community,
Yes.
And the wonderful thing about Okyun and Comore, there's a new community growing up, but it's the second generation of maybe those who moved in to start, and there's a family atmosphere about it.
Yes.
And a lot of sadness has happened.
Yes.
And Omagh has had a lot of sadness over the years, but when it impacts on a community like a park, I think everybody felt it.
Everybody felt it. It might have been just one family, but it affected the whole,
Right.
the whole park. It affected the whole park.
Because it was essentially a family. The whole community was a family.
Family, yes, very much so. So it is. And then we do have characters as well. We do have characters come out of the Okyun Park as well.
Of course.
There's always a character there. So it is.
Well, let's listen to some of these characters. How about having a bit of a listen, and then we'll come back to you, Mark, in the fullness of time.
Right.
Thanks again for taking part in this, and this is our first three-way phone call. I wasn't sure we got to, but we'll get it to work. But it appears to be working okay at this stage. Can you still hear us, Declan? Sorry, I'm not sure if you're
Yes,
here.
I'm still here as well.
Okay, right. I wasn't sure because sometimes my headphones. I'm trying to mix this and get it done, get it recorded, and then talk at the same time. But it seems to be working fairly well. So we'll
take it from there.
Mark, thanks so much for all you do. And I tell you, you do really cheer up a lot of people with your photographs. It does mean so much because I could spend hours and hours looking at them. They're not my family, but they're people that I would know and associate with, and somehow you can make connections. And I see photographs around the town. I think, God, it's just a lovely homely feeling to have it, and thanks for allowing us to use them along with our audio.
Not at all,
because it actually does actually add more colour to what we're doing as well. Because we're a bit like yourself. We're using it with a microphone rather than a camera, and we're just trying to get the voices to live here.
But Donald, isn't it the straight that you look at the photograph and you think, oh my God, I used to have hair like that, or my were like that. My moustache was like that.
Well, this is the thing about it. But,
but the photographs set thing, and then also, remember, you used to get your photograph, and maybe you had 4 imprints beside it. And then the photographs over the years, they turned yellow.
Of course, yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I think that the colour of the photographs, I think, sets them in time as well.
It really does.
Photographs in the 70s, Mark. I'm sure you've seen that.
Yeah.
I haven't seen. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And God, when you see the style and the short collars and the women's hairstyles, and you start cringing and thinking, that was once me.
Look, I think it's good to look at them. It's good to look back. And I always say to people, there's always a word of caution. Look back, but don't live there. I think keep saying
exactly.
That the life is for living, and this is the only reality we have. And if you spend half your life looking ahead and the other half looking forward, you're going to lose it. Today is very important. Okay, we're maybe locked in our homes and restricted, but we're in our homes and we've plenty to eat and plenty to drink and plenty to water and electricity. Everything's working. I know it's difficult for people and people are afraid, but if they can stay at home the next whatever length of time this takes, I'm not going to say how long it's going to take because none of us really know at this stage. But if these programs help to just pass an hour or so. This is really all they're for. I know it is indeed, and we're getting some great feedback, and I'm amazed at the amount of people.
The way I look at Don, if it brings happiness to somebody's face, isn't it well worth it?
It is indeed. That's all it is.
Well worth it.
It is indeed.
Absolutely, Mark, you're so right. That is so right. As long as you can just smile in the midst of sorrow, I think we're one step ahead. Then
we're one step ahead. But and the whole Omagh is a very, very strong community. Very strong.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
What a town to be from. I mean, I'm genuinely I think it's we're very blessed to be from this town. I think it's one of the best towns. Even like Lennis Nugent said that today in his programme. He says there's a friendliness in this town, and I think this is a town that welcomes people of all shapes and sizes and creeds, and we welcome strangers here as well. I think people do feel at home in this town, and you go to the folk park, and anybody that I meet down there that are not from the town, they say it's just such a friendly place to go and walk about. They're amazed at it that they can do that. So long may that continue.
Absolutely.
Anyway, without further ado, we're going to play Okyun Park, a place called home.
Welcome to Okyun Park, a place called home. The following voices on this CD all form part of a unique community in Omagh and are but a small portion of the oral history of Okyun Park, preserved for future generations in the CKS. As this community celebrates 40 years, the people you will hear tell their own individual stories of life there. Some will tell of their struggle to find any sort of accommodation in the early 1960s and the subsequent frustrations of families to get placed on a housing list. Others will recall happy childhood memories of Omagh. All, however, will take us on a journey through 40 years of life in the town of Omagh and how Okyun Park has changed and evolved over 2 generations. Our town depended to a great extent on the railway, and when this was closed in the early 1960s, it was a great blow. However, the closure of the station freed up a parcel of land which subsequently became Okyun Park. And these are some of its voices.
And then we lived in an old flat, a couple of flats. The first flat we ever got was down a Derry Road, 1 room. When I mean 1 room, cooker, bed, everything was all in the one little room, you know. And there was so many of these rooms that the chimney couldn't take when everybody lit a fire, the chimneys couldn't take it. So we had constant blowdowns and soot on your house. And I remember having to take my eldest son out to the front street, whereas he was blocked with soot, like, you know. So we went back to my mother's house for a while, and then I got a flat then in the jail square. Well, you got the form. I remember one particular counsellor just said to me, "Did you fill the form in?" Aye, that's it. Cheerio. It wasn't can I help you, Frank, or I'll try my best, Frank, or whatever, but that was it. You had to go around every one of them personally, you know, and knock their door and talk. It was quite degrading when you think about it, you know. But that was a time, and then everybody went down the street to see who got the house. I remember when I got the house, we were up, I was living out in my mother's house, and we're sitting in the house, and everybody came in, and I was told by my cousin and brother-in-law that I got a house. But the whole street, people used to go down the street. It was the town hall, the houses were picked, and people used to go down the street and stand to see who got the house. You know, it was a big thing, you know, getting a house, you know. But I think that time the councillors had a choice who they wanted. But so if you worked for a guy who was a councillor, like, there was a good chance you would have got the house. But if he didn't know you, maybe, or whatever, that good night, Irene, you didn't get one. You know, that was as simple as that there. And Okyun Park was a great park at that time. You know, everybody was Mark's people there. They moved from the Crescent. A lot of people moved from other parks into Okyun Park. You know. I think my best, the funniest time I ever had was when, not many of us had television, but when we got televisions, there wasn't, nobody bought a license, that's for sure. And I remember one night we were standing there, and this knock came to the door, and one of the kids next door said to me, "Frank, the dreaded words was, the TV van's round, you know, bang, the lights goes out. Now, you know, the whole park, lights go out. It was worse than World War II. The park wasn't dark, you know, when this thing was going around. And everybody was walking about, you know, whistling. You know, I would go out to see if it was away, you know, and somebody else was going out. But that's, everybody's the same. Nobody had a white lot, and nobody really cared about, what would the better word be for him, until Okyun Park, you know. But I enjoyed Okyun Park. It was 40 years now, you know, and I think a lot of lovely people. Some great musicians came out of Okyun Park, some great wee footballers came out of Okyun Park, people done well out of Okyun Park.
Everybody knew everybody, right? Everybody shared with everybody. Like, there was the Nugents next door, and Mrs. Nugent next door, her husband worked in Nestles, and Wednesday was his payday, and my father's payday was on a Friday, right? So my mother would go down on Friday and the biggest cabbage and the biggest turnip was got and halved between her and our house. And on a Wednesday, she would do the same. And that's the way we lived. Protestants and Catholics were the same. There was no talk about religion then, you know. And everybody shared with everybody. Everybody helped. My father, God have mercy on him, he was in the timber business and he would fell trees. And of course, whenever the branches weren't used, it was only the trunks then was used, they were all cut up, they come home and then they were divided between everybody. You know, it was a family affair.
I liked it very much, and then we're settled in, and God have mercy on Frank Aiken, and Jim McLaughlin called down one evening and said would I be interested in starting a residence committee, or a tenants committee I should say. And I said I was delighted. So we formed a committee, and through it we got quite a lot of things done. We got swings put up for the children, we got the old gas tank taken away, we got the brook closed right enough after a fatal accident in it, but nevertheless we worked hard, we got it closed. I also got buses put on, got one put for the school children which is still going, and done several things, and we had John Gormley who worked for the executive and reckoned we had one of the best parks. He says we know we had a nickname, no hiding place, but he says I can tell you, he says, and I work with all the various parks, it's one of the best run parks there is. And he said I noticed that you've got the slogans cleared off the wall, and he says it's a credit to you. So after that we fought then to get a community centre, and we got the first community centre outside of the parochial one, of course, in the area. We also had the first tenants association in Omagh.
So I think Okyun Park came out of needs and a means for decent accommodation, because the accommodation that we all would have been born and reared up into was not, we wouldn't even say it was third class, like it was no class. Don't even think the rats enjoyed staying there, like it was one of those jobs. So that's how we came to it. My mother shipped everything up into Okyun Park in a pram.
I think we moved there when I was about 3 weeks old, so their birthday was in April, on the 7th of April, so I think we were the first abode in from Church Street, I think, up around there. It's now a car park, as far as I know. And we were the first in, and I was only about 3 weeks old, and there was 4 others of us, and I was the baby in the house. Oh yeah, I think there was only 2 bedrooms in the house we were in, and I was born at home there, and my mother didn't even take me to the chapel. She just take her away with me and call her wherever you want. So I come back, Pamela Francis Mary. After the Blessed Virgin Mary, and Francis after my godmother, so there you go. That's where I got my name out of.
She had paid in Arthur McGill's. She'd kept her family allowance, and she paid into Arthur McGill's for the furniture, for a carpet. We had it was a lot to be said, like they just had a carpet, and I think it was a bed settee that all of us were nursed in at some stage of the game whenever we were ill or whatever, and an ironing board, which she still has to this day. I mean, that's over 40 odd years of age. It's been covered with more blankets and everything else, like, but we've still got it. So that was us getting up into Okyun Park. It was brilliant, and it was very much so. I think we've still remained friends. You know, there's any family that was there, their children have moved into the houses that were there, and their children have moved into the houses, you know, as well. So, as they say, the only way you get a house in Okyun Park is if somebody left it in a box. So, you know, that was the way that it was.
It was their first new home. They moved into this new home, and it was only been built, so it was a fresh start for these young couples then.
But it was a big thing for us to get to Bundoran, because the Aldrinmore Road, you'd have seen the cars going up on a Sunday again, very few, but you knew where they were going, but there was no chance for us to get there. And that was one of the things whenever we eventually got the community centre into the park, like, and that was after years. I mean, Jesus, we'd have played out around the park. But eventually, anyway, the community centre came to, and that was one of the main things that they did. They got a bus, and they would have took us to Bundoran and Rusnowla and whatever. And I mind one of the first times we ever went to Rusnowla, Kieran Devaney got off the bus and he says to me, "Ma, Jesus, Miss McGonigal, would you look at the size of them burn?" You know what I mean? And that boy would have been, he must have been about 9 or 10, like at that stage of the game.
And Ronnie Blade's bus come on a Sunday, and Miss McCullough's husband, we called him Outlaw McCullough at the time, he used to get in the back of the bus with a mouth organ, and we all piled into it, and we didn't think there was a door in the back of it.
Oh, it was a death trap?
And we went and I had to pay 50p or something to get on it, and Mummy was the supervisor.
Mummy's car was a Hillman Imp. She passed her driving test, and there was 4 of us plus my dad, and we piled and had done, of course, we'd done the put blankets into it and with books and everything else. And the Hillman Imp's a very small car, like especially the boot, like, but we sat in the boot. You wouldn't get away with that these days. Like no child seats, no restrainers, no nothing. I mean, as many as you could pile in went on a day out.
Still sing the songs we had in the concert when we were out. Actually, it was my birthday a few weeks ago, and we were all at the songs we sung in the concert round the top of the town bar, and we were all at it hammering tongues, and everybody was looking over and says, "What under Jesus are they at?"
You see, that all came about from, it was one summer, again, this all centred around the community centre. We would have never have had that if we didn't have had that building. And it was Mary Livingstone and Frank Aiken and Frank Galeese and Joan Warburton. There was a whole load of them came together to say we were going to have a show on. For the 2 months of that summer, we were in that community centre first thing in the morning till last thing at night, practising and practising and practising. And that show, it's just a shame that there was a video then, because the all was brilliant for kids. And there was no funding, there was no money from the council, there was no nothing at all. Like, you know, the costumes and everything else, we made ourselves. Mary Livingstone took us and she practised up in her house. She had me pinned up in one of her own dresses. I'll never forget, it was a green flowery creation. It was absolutely horrendous when you look back at it now, but I thought it was gorgeous. And the amount of work that was put into it by the parents and the children themselves, I mean, again, it was a fantastic summer. And out of that show, as Pam says, we're still singing the songs. You know, and just...
There's pots were ruined, dyeing tights and
right.
dyeing stuff, and sheets missing, and well, not many sheets, like. Brenda, any time there was a concert on and we had to have an outfit, Brenda Ellen was away home, she cut up all the curtains, anything she could find, and made all the outfits for us. Dyed everything.
It was a new community that started up. They probably would have known one another from the town or whatever, like, because it's a very small, close-knit town, Omagh, like in those days, like it's nowhere near as big as what it was now. But as regards a community, Okyun Park definitely did become a community on its own. Like, this is long before Culmore Park even came about, because Culmore Park when we were Waynes was just fields and Sperrin and all those around. It was just fields, you know, and I don't even think, did the Tamlet Road even exist? I know Shannon Park wouldn't have been there when we were going to Old Culmore School. That's the first school that we
built up in Culmore Park, and our Damien going and playing in them, and taking me up one day, and I followed him actually, and I think it was maybe Mitchell's house I was in, and he went up the stairs and I followed him and went through the roof, and I hurt my legs or something, and he had to take me down, and he got battered for taking me up there, and he's tried to convince Mommy that I followed him, but I was a real tomboy at that time. I was fishing out the back in the stream and catching minnows, and I caught a minnow one time when they were out playing football out the green, and he came in to get a drink of water. He drank me minnow and everything.
Mind the time your father had the old black car out the back. We used to get into it and let on we were going to Bundoran. And we'd go and paddle in the barn. There was an old barn out the back as well. We'd get out of the car, go and paddle in the barn, let on we were in Bundoran. For miles in that car. I remember your dad coming out one day and saying to us, "Where are you going today, girls?" Bundoran, everybody shouted.
Life was good because we were all happy, and I got the house the following March. No, I hadn't long. I got 7 Hunters Crescent and was there for about 7 years, but then got too small, and then got the chance now. It was hard going because it was a 4-bedroom house. Body Culton was going to be extra money, but I would say I spent the happiest years of my life there. I couldn't say anything about it. And my neighbours was good, and more or less kept myself to myself, you know, that sort of way. Went out and worked for anything that I had. So I'm good with hands, so therefore would have made clothes for the kids and one thing and another like that there, but I brought up a good family so that I've no worries or no cares, no. You see, you had the furnish of it after that. I mean, with being in a 2-bedroom house, you hadn't much, but in them days we had occupied in different things. There was Jack McGinn's and there would have been Desi Black's, places like that there. Half a crown now sometimes, but then you had McManus's Shoe Club, things like that. No, you managed, you survived. So you went out and done your bit. You worked here and you worked there. So my phonograph, I had to go buy. When I got on my feet, I had to go and buy myself another phonograph. The 10 shillings that flitted me for my first phone. And I still have that. And they were good to me. As I say, times were hard now. I mean, but everybody's was hard. I mean, it wasn't alone me. But as I say, I went out and worked, and I would have had 3 different jobs at the one time. But I would have went to the schools, and Barry Cullet would have come back from the schools and seen to them. Well, they were all at schools then. No, like I didn't go out until the youngest of the lot went to school, and then out I went then. And would have come back and made them dinners and different things. Went back out again then to the offices or something like that there. Oh, I couldn't. I had Father McGrath beside me, his family. And then on the other side of that would have been a councillor, Philly McCrory. Do you remember him? So you would have had him. Oh no, right enough. We had our ups and downs. I mean, where there's kids involved, you just didn't. It wasn't a bed of roses either, do you know that? But you didn't go out and fight for children then, no, you more or less. Oh no. As I say, that the only thing was that my husband, he put in beans and peas, but now they didn't last too long. The kids at the park would have helped them. They would have come calling us so-and-so coming out to play. Well, then you were minus your beans or your peas, but we enjoyed life and happy enough.
June 66, I think. Cannondale, we were living with the white people there for 9 years. That time a house would have been, you wouldn't have got it. And whenever you had a house tomorrow, but your family's not big enough. But whenever allocated this house here, our mainstay in that time would have been the late Philly McCrory. Would have been he lived in this park too, and he got the house on it, and he was our mainstay. And them Jew Okyun, they were men that would have spoke. And whenever we came up to see this house, we got the allocation of it. It was great to see your own pad come in a big house, go to the size of that house, never get the furniture. Well, a working person, you hadn't the money to be for the furnished house the size of this. So got into it and started off the furnish and got going all right. And our 2 main men who that time would have been late Jack McGinn and there'd be Desmond Black. And they were 2 gentlemen. Went into them and bought your stuff, and if you hadn't all the money, took it out and went in and paid them the rest, and they wouldn't just look for a bill or nothing for you, they're gentlemen. And they were the people that done mostly all the work around Okyun Park. Well, for us anyway, everything was a while, like, they were gentlemen. Jimmy Culberson and the wife, John Spracken and the wife, Frankie Bradley and the wife, Mickey Mullen, wife. John Johnson would have lived in this house here. So Christy McGuigan's still there yet, he's down there. And who was in the in-house now? I can't mind that now. On the opposite side would be Tony McBride still there. Sam Keys was there gone. Shuki McSwigan would be there too. Brian McCausland still there. And the house and the first house there, who the heck owned that now? That's one, I can't mind who owned that at the minute. But most of them's here yet. And like anybody has gone to the park, like at this side there's Sam Keys, Sam the wife's dead, Mickey Mullen the wife's gone, like, you know. But again, John Johnson the wife's gone. They live in this house here. And very good. And there was, she must have heard, she lived behind us going too. Whenever she moved into this park, she got a bunch of flowers. Moved into this park. But our neighbours were quite good, they're all good. Paddy McChrystal down at the Okyun. I'd been there the shop that time, if I recall right. There's no stores over there. There's no co, that I can recall it. And John Hamilton on Fosford Road, that he was the milkman. Hillbank Dairy, that was the father, Joe, and they were Hillbank Dairy. That time too, Shemack O'Neill, he won the railway bar and no one knows the Okyun. Johnny Miller had a shop there on a later date. Opposite the Okyun there.
Because the house I was in before I came out here was only one bedroom in it and a kitchen. And I got 3 of a family then. And then we were glad, but it was hard to get the house, mind you. But it was good now when we came out here, like, and we had plenty of places to play and stuff like that, like, you know. Because we used to, because of rent, because I was saying, last year was grading out stuff and I got rent books. And all was on, there was £2, $2.11 a week. And we used to get 1 week every month free until it was good now, right now, that was. Well, there are a lot of people that are not in the park at all. Everything else, like that's a lot. But we have oil heating and we got oil heating in there about a year ago. We got that done, like, and we got. They're renovated 10 years ago. Like we used to have one big living room, you know, but they divided it. So, but sure, they're all away now, and it's good, like.
And then there were Mark McGrath, and there was, who was next up? Oh, I didn't be guy. He was a big tall man. And then Charlie McKinney. That was the first row. Oh God, we had a private children. But we didn't bother because we had due punishment our back. So that was all right. And the rent was middle sharp at the beginning. And then it went down. So I'm not bad. Could be worse, I suppose. I never could, or never looked about who lived in the back road or anything. Never bothered me. Some men, I never was used bothering with anybody. You know, when we lived in Cavanagh. Then there was Irene and Brenton and Sally and Rilla and Olive and Patsy, Peter and Geraldine, Rosemary. That's a good few now.
There were hard times when we came to Omagh. When we lived in the back lane, it was very hard times. Oh, we had with the lamps and gas. At least we breath, you know, it blew a wee hole into the mantle and then you had to buy a new mantle. But we weren't there too long to get the electric put into our house. I think we were the first in the back lane to get the electric. We got a wee house in the back lane and just Mrs. Craig used to live in it, and then we had a wild fight to get it. It was like, you thought it was a gold house. It was hard to get a house then, and then we lived there for 15 years. All the whole 7 of my children was born there. 6. And I ran that out in Okyun Park. So we did 15 years and then we got a house in Okyun Park, 74. We thought we were made up. We listened with all this grand stuff, but we hadn't very much money now. But the way it was, the council used to, we used to have 74, £2.74 a week we paid for rent when I first went to Okyun Park. When we had a rent book. And you paid it 1 week and the next week was free. We used to look forward to the free week. We used to say, well, we've had to get extra coal now. We have a free week this week. I don't know what the coal was then. But with no central heating down, and Okyun Park was just the ordinary coal fire. But we were one of the first really to get a house out there. A row anyway, 5 in a row. As far as I remember, it was just 1, 2, the 4 rows, and the 4 bedrooms was in front of us. It was just ordinary coal fire. And then there wasn't too much money, you had to buy the coal.
But we, as I say, when the extra week, get the free week, we always look forward to the free. We thought we were free because we hadn't to pay the rent that a week. Oh, it was all right then. We got used to living where we were for 15 years. It was hard then to get onto the swanky place, as they say it was swanky. But we done all right then. They all went to school here, the same place. I knew my neighbour because my neighbour was Frank Elise. And then I lived beside his mother in the back lane, you see. So I knew the lane. And then I knew the fields. I knew them all on my row, because we all moved in one direction till our place. In my row, there's nobody there. I'm the only one on my row. They're very fond of football, the boys. And every time you set the garden with the grass seed, the next day it was all kicked off. It took years for it to grow. Never got a chance to grow, because they'd go out every evening. You tell them, don't be playing football in that garden. But they went on ahead, and then that was the end of it. You had to reset it. It took a long, long time to grow. They haven't got a cement it done. We didn't bother with the grass. We still have a big garden at the front. But I was glad, because I was thinking in the hot water and all, in the bath and all for the bath the rains, you know. Oh, it was changed. Place the line down your clothes. So there was no line where we were living. Nothing like that at all. It was great to get the clothes out, to get them dried. Never leave it, no. I'm there to the day I die. Wouldn't dream of leaving. No, I would never leave, no.
It's 35 years ago, I don't know. Up on the hill there. And then I lived up the lane at one time too. We're 57 years married, I think. 1948. So I'm telling you, we had our teeth eyesight in our hair, so you toilet out at the far end was up in the hill, where do you call it? Westview, that's where it was. Well, it was all right. It was better than the house I lived in the lane, a clay floor in it. A dry toilet between 4 houses. That's right, when I got married. I had 3 or 4 weans in it. They're all born in the house too. But that's the way it is. I lived out here, I never know bother anybody. Good enough. Got the chance of this, it was a good house. And you're still out in the same direction, you know what I mean? I never bothered, it wasn't just in the house. If anybody wanted me to do anything, I would do it. That was all. Never. Used to go to out bingo or something like that, but I quit going to it. With the smoking would kill me. I have a bad lung. So, and I don't smoke. I was paying £0.50 up the lane a week. And you might know what £0.50 is. And then I was paying 11 shillings or something like that up on the hill. Went up then. But there was a lean-to, and the toilet was at the far end. And the lead pipes was all around the water. And I had a bus pipe. They told me to just bait it down and fix it yourself. I had to fix it myself. I couldn't afford to pay anybody. You're getting £5 a week for working with bricklayers. That's the truth. And then Pat Moore says to me, he says, hey Bob, you'll take a job here when the job finished. We tumbled an old pub down the street, but a bit till it. And I was the last man on the job, and he says to me, you take a job here? So I don't like working inside. And I was getting £5 a week. I say, I tell you, this Mr. Moore, I need at least £8 a week. And suddenly I was walking away hoping he'd call me back. You know, you don't, when lock away and you don't know what to do. So he called me back. He says, all right, he says, say another thing to you. If I have to work after 6, I want paid for it. And I was the only one who got overtime in the welfare. I got a half day on Wednesday and I won my half day on the Saturday. So that's what I got now, been on up to £30. Just had a bag it done with my heart and a lung. That lung happened to me in the Estels years ago, working with asbestos. That's it. I never had no bother, all good to me. Even the grandchildren's good to me.
And the late Herbert John was the vice chairman. Then he died, and I think Harry Whitley and a degree was the vice chairman. And then there was a housing committee of McKeever, Barney McKeever, he was involved very much in it, and another man named Brunt from up at Tulloch. And she called, I thought it was a big number, you know. I think the point system came in before the houses in Okyun Park relegated. I'm not certain now. I know the first job I had to do, and the first meeting I went to in the council, in the old council, was to allocate a house. There was 14 applicants for it. And I had 13 enemies. That was torture. The generally way they worked it, you know, and I say it was now in my area, as electoral divisions at that time, you'd have proposed and somebody else was second. And I mean, the same as it happened now. He called down Dumcon, I mean, he had to propose down his lorry terrace it was. And I mean, me second. Every man was left every man's own way. It was an awkward way. Point system was good to get out of the road. And then when all the houses then came in, to built in Strathroy and Okyun Park and out to Hospital Road, that left more or less new villages. There were, at a time, not in my time now, that stopped that, which was quite right. I never agreed with it. You know, so many houses called that, no, it was wrong. That. Oh, and the urban council, the old rural council, remember there was 42 members on it. And the urban, I think it was 17. And we'd have met at 2 o'clock. The old urban council met at 2 o'clock. And we stopped at 3 or half 3 for a cup of tea, and you paid half a crown to get your cup of tea and a couple of sandwiches. But there were, I think it was 7 members then would have been on the 7th committee. And they met with 7 members out of the urban council. They came out and had a wee meeting about the 70s. During the those who were involved got a very quick cup of tea. Short now. But they're a good crack.
I remember all rushes and flooding over wet, water line on it and all that sort of stuff, you know. Come here in 1966, the 19th of January, and there was a worse weather than what it is now, hard, dry, black frost, and there was no heating, only the one fire. And it was tough enough for a few weeks. I haven't had the crescent for 12 years. Not having started for 10 years before that. So, you had to go to councillors. You had to be very nice to them around, you're going to vote for them and all the rest of it. So, I met next door neighbour, Mary Monaghan. She's still here on the Conways. And John Colton and they all here, you know. Well, we made about 3 or 4 here, just round about here, but that's about all, like, you know. So the rest of them are here near the 40 years, 39 to 40 years. But somebody said that Mrs. Conway had a rent because there's £2.8 or something a week. And the heating was a big thing, not having the heating. We come on here for we the wife's father too with us. All great neighbours. And no, they're good neighbours. Good neighbours down here anyway, you know, and that's so along here. Very, no noise or anything, you know. So, I like it. I like it well, and it's handy. It's handy for shopping.
I did a stint here on the CKS Community Association. There were three of us, 3 councillors on each Community Association committee. As council representatives, obviously. And, well, it was a battle to get finance, because there were a lot of councillors who thought that the money could have been spent elsewhere more profitably. But there were those of us who felt that this was one way of the community who lived in the area uniting and working for the good of that community. There was a great feeling of trying to produce some sort of accommodation for particularly young people or those interested in sport and the elderly, so that they did not have to go away from the area in which they were living, perhaps when there was bomb scares or at night. And I think it worked very well from that point of view. Now, it was slow. A lot of people felt it was a very sort of alien thing to be doing, but it did work quite well.
Well, it was my friend, she's passed away now, Anne Colton, and myself. The boys were out playing one night and they're kicking balls up against the people were complaining about them kicking balls, so we went down to the boys and we asked them, well, could they not play somewhere else? And they said they'd nowhere to play, so we asked them what would they like, and they said they would like some wee place for them to go in and play and to have a game at bowls or darts or whatever. And that was alright, so we decided then, we brought them into the house a couple of nights, me and myself, and we decided then what we would do. We would go around the park and asked all the people in the park what they thought, so we went round, asked the people in the park, and we come up with a committee. So it went from there, and Joe Hull was involved, Frank Aitken, myself, Anne McGonigal, a whole lot to name. So then the next thing then was, we had meetings in the houses first. Then we went from there to MJ's. Then we went from there and we went up to the community centre. And then we had, in Smash Hall, we had sale of work, and from then we met with the council and everything, and we decided then we wanted, somebody said a wee hut, but we ended up getting this place here, the CKS. So it went from that, and then there was a committee formed after that, and then I opted out then and went and done other things. So I reared my family then a bit, and then come back into the centre about 15, 20 years after that, and I've been in it since. Council done it all, and this was the pilot here in Northern Ireland. And we had good laughs along the way, doing different things and finding out how we were going to go about all these things. And from that then, we have been involved, I've been involved sort of in the centre from that, you know. I think for the children alone, and we have the pension group, well, over 50s actually. And I come over to help, and I ended up joining it, and I'm in it since. I'm in it about 10 years now, and we do outings, we go on bus trips, and we go to other community centres, and we are having now our community centre dance on the 27th of this month. We are having all the other centres back here, and we're having a party, and then we're hoping maybe in the near future to do something more with the pensions or the older people in the park. Gorchin, Dromore, Hospital Road, we have a great rapport with the Hospital Road Community Centre. The social services give you a free bus now in May, and we take them with us, and then when they get their free bus they take us with them, and then that's the way it works, and then we meet up different times of the year, you know. And I enjoy coming over on the Wednesday afternoon, you know, and helping. But as I say, I ended up joining, so I'm now in the over 50s club. I've seen a lot of change, a lot of people coming and going, a lot of people passed away and different things, you know. Sad too, but you just have to keep going. And I'm nearly 38 years here, and the house was 2 years up before I moved in. There was somebody in it, and we had a bit of bother then trying to get a house at that stage. You had to go around the councillors and beg and beg and beg, and you had to trail round. And I had Michelle, which was my oldest child, and you had to go around trail her around the pram in the winter and the snow and the rain, and you just felt really degraded, begging. But we finally got one anyway, and we're here since. I lived with Mrs. Colton, my mother-in-law, and there was 19 in the house, in a 2-bedroom house. I and my husband slept in it was a wee bed that folded up into the table. I slept and hit in the wee carry cot at the side. Well, we're hoping to have a week of entertainment for all the children and adults and whatever, and also we're going to have the launch of our book on the 11th of July as well, and hopefully on the end of the week, the 17th, we're hoping to have a dance with a draw and all that. We're hoping to have a wee service as well on the Sunday, I think, on the 11th, to commemorate the past and residences in the park as well. Well, it's mostly around the park here, you know, and we have a few from Gallis Hill too, and a few from around, you know. Yeah, it's open to the whole Omagh West area, you know, and we would like to get maybe more people involved in it, you know, it'd be nice.